a quick disclaimer, this is not your typical short, long stitch. This is my version of it. I often use this stitch to kind of fill in spaces to look a little more organic and natural. So I've used it for rivers in my shepherd piece. I use it in the hills for the shepherd piece. In my But God piece, it's the letters. So this is Abide Embroidery Co. version of a long short stitch. So don't take this too literal as far as the title of the stitch goes. So you're going to pick a spot to come up at. Hold on, my floss is going crazy. Okay, and you're just going to go straight down, whatever size. There's no rhyme reason to this. Now I'm going to come back, just make another stitch. And all I'm doing is just using my thread in long, short patterns to fill in the space. I have more diva thread over here. So I'm curving it right now. And there really is no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. I'm just kind of creating long and short stitches that flow together to help fill in this pattern. And you'll notice as you start stitching how certain stitches, oh man, goodness gracious, how certain stitches move and how you'd want to fill in a curve. I don't really have any great tips for you on that, is you just kind of have to feel it out and get an understanding of how stitches move, how they look at certain sizes, and whatnot. And there really is no like right versus wrong way to do this, because you're just doing a bunch of straight stitches in a sense to fill in a space. I'm sure I might get critiqued for this. They're like, what is that? That is not a real stitch. But I do really like the way that it creates an organic look for hills and for water and all those fun things. So as you see, I'm just kind of filling in some spots. So I'll just do a combination of a long stitch, a shorter stitch. I do try and go with the movement of whatever it is I'm stitching, whether it's the movement of the water, the movement of a hill. I'm not going to stitch here and then here and then here, like one stitch here, one stitch here, one stitch up there type of thing. And one thing you can do, so as you can see, this piece of thread is kind of coming out from this little section here, and I want a little bit of a tighter look. And so what I can do is I brought my floss right up on this line, and I'm going to kind of use my floss where I go down to kind of pull this other floss up and tuck it in. And that kind of helps push it into its space a little bit. And you can first outline an area if you want using a back stitch, like outline the river and then come in and fill it in. You just have to be careful that you kind of go over those back stitches a little bit so that you don't create a sharp edge, if that makes sense. So if you do too many short stitches, you're going to notice that you run into a very jagged look. So you got to make sure you're putting plenty of long stitches in there too. Is there a better way to do this? Maybe. Is this the way I like to do it? Yes. And I do try to always come, so you noticed at the top, I started at the top and went down, and then once I kind of got those first few stitches, I try to always come from the non-stitched section into the stitched area, because it just shows me a little bit better of where I need to be laying my stitches. And they don't have to always be straight lines either. Like, you can kind of go at an angle and come from here to this top part down a little bit. The one thing you don't want is for all of your stitches to pretty much start and end at the same spot, because that's when you're going to get those jagged, or not jagged, but very sharp lines. And that's not what we want. We're trying to create an organic look. This probably uses way more floss in it than some other method would use, but again, guys, it's just what I like. And if you want to use a traditional long and short stitch, now I can't even think of the technical name for it. Cutesy Craft does have a good tutorial that you can watch that I would recommend, which you can definitely do that method. There would be nothing wrong with doing that method if you feel like you need a little more structure and you're like, Sarah, this freehand thing stresses me out, which I understand.